Welcome to Phenology Orientation. This introduction to phenology will explain how Conservancy volunteers contribute to the National Phenology Network database by collecting data in the preserve. We appreciate your participation in this important work. Phenology is the study of how plants and animals react to seasonal and long-term changes by tracking phenophases. A phenophase is an observable stage or phase in the annual life cycle of a plant or animal that can be defined by a start and end point, such as the emergence of insects, the migration of birds, and plant flowering and fruiting. Tracking the timing of phenophases can provide early warning signs of mismatches between animals and their resources. How plants and animals respond to climate change can help us predict whether their populations will grow or shrink, making phenology a leading indicator of climate change impacts. There are phenology trails at Lost Dog, Gateway, and Browns Ranch trailheads. There are 6 plants and 1 animal in the study. 3 of the plants, buckhorn cholla, jojoba, and saguaro, are studied at all 3 sites. 3 additional plants, desert senna, soap tree yucca, and velvet mesquite, are only observed on the Jane Rail Trail at Browns Ranch. The white-winged dove is studied at all 3 sites. Each plant has a metal tag for identification. There are 2 ways to enter data. You can enter your observations directly into the Nature's Notebook app from the trail, or you can record them on data sheets or in your workbook and manually enter the data when you get home. There are 4 possible protocol responses: yes, no, question mark, and leave it blank. If you note that a phenophase is not occurring, be sure to select no. Leaving it blank means you did not check. It is just as important to know when a phenophase is not occurring as it is to know when it is occurring. If you are uncertain, perhaps because you lack experience or because you cannot see the area you need to see, use the question mark. You will also need to answer intensity questions. This has to do with the number of buds, flowers, and fruits you see, as well as the percentage of fruits that are ripe and leaf coverage in broad categories. When reporting on intensity, researchers are really looking for an estimate of the number you see. You don't have to be 100% certain. The change in intensity over time is just as important as the actual intensity value. What they are really interested in is when a phenophase reaches its peak. For example, you might start reporting intensity and miss the initial smallest measure of intensity, or misinterpret it to be higher than it actually is, shown here by the red line. As long as you show the change in intensity over time on your plant and capture the timing of the peak, even if you don't get the actual numbers exactly right, that is still very useful information. The phenophases you will be observing on plants have to do with leafing, flowering, and fruiting. For the white-winged dove, you will observe whether or not they are active, and if so, the number of active individuals. You will also note if you heard any calls or songs. Each protocol question is followed by a definition. For instance, are there young leaves, which applies to jojoba and velvet mesquite, is defined as 1 or more young unfolded leaves are visible on the plant. A leaf is considered young and unfolded once its entire length has emerged from a breaking bud, stem node, or growing stem tip, so that the leaf stalk or leaf base is visible at its point of attachment to the stem, but before the leaf has reached full size or turned the darker green color or tougher texture of mature leaves on the plant. Do not include fully dried or dead leaves. There are many pitfalls in this long, complicated sentence, especially if you get young leaves confused with initial leaf growth, which applies to desert senna. When you read the definitions of each carefully, you will note initial leaf growth must still be folded and young leaves must be unfolded. In each case, the leaves should be a fresh, bright green. Now you need to answer the intensity question. How many young leaves are present? This isn't as hard as it sounds. To estimate the number of young leaves in this picture, you can quickly see that there are more than 10, but less than 100. Now that your initial orientation is complete, you will meet with your trail lead for more in-depth training. Once that is finished, you will sign up on Better Impact for days when you would like to observe. Remember, wear your steward shirt and name tag and report your hours. You should plan on spending up to 2 hours on the trail, depending on which trail, your experience, and how many plants are active. The most critical part of observing is to capture the transitions between phenophases, so do not overthink the situation. The purpose of making observations for Nature's Notebook is to capture general life cycle patterns regionally. So relax and have a great day on the trail.